Leading into step 3, taking responsibility. And I need you all to tune in for this part. Without blame. Without blame.
Yeah.
It is so easy once we identify and we keep what we want to look at our family and look at our parents and be like, they did that to me.
Yeah.
They effed me up.
Because I got more in tune with my emotions, I started to understand why people say certain things instead of focusing on the things they were saying, because I knew it wasn't about me, what they were saying.
100%.
It was more about how they were going through something. And that reflection in itself completely changed the dynamic of conflicts that I would have with my family.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Listening Circle. My name is Anisha Leroya, and today I'm here with my mother, Harleen Leroya. And we're going to be talking about something that is extremely, extremely personal to us and actually a lot of the people we know as well, which is breaking intergenerational patterns, the good, the bad, the ugly, and most importantly, the steps you need to take in order to embark on that journey. So let's get it started with a statement that not a lot of people like to hear. You are patterned. Plain and simple. Every family has its emotional habits. Some were created out of survival. Some are beautiful.
Yep.
Some are not. And almost all of them usually are completely unconscious.
Yep.
And if you do not choose what to consciously carry forward, you are going to let it run your life. And so in order to do that, we have steps. And we're going to get into the steps, how the two of us have explored these steps, and why these steps are kind of a concrete way for you to embark on the journey of pattern breaking yourself.
Yep.
So first things first, we say that this is the hardest step, and I think you'd agree. And usually because the first one is always the hardest, and that is identifying what you inherited.
I think one of the toughest parts about identifying what we inherited is first recognizing or becoming conscious in our day-to-day life, which is very difficult because a lot of us have a routine. We work like robots. We wake up, we do the same things every day. And when you're in your day-to-day, you become accustomed to it, so you can't really see anything that you are reacting to or that you retaliate to, and you don't really spend much time thinking about why you reacted that way. So that needs a lot of consciousness and mindfulness to come into daily life.
And see, the thing is, that reminds me of that Carl Jung quote. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will run your life and you will call it fate.
Yep.
And so we understand that there are very difficult things with identifying in the first place. So I've actually written down a couple of questions you can ask yourself on what are the sort of patterns you might have even started inheriting. And those 3 questions, and these are broad, and you can sort of branch off of these 3 questions into more for yourself. But it gives you an idea of the kinds of questions you have to ask in order to identify. And those are, what did I learn love looks like? What did I learn safety requires, specifically emotional safety?
Yeah.
And what did I learn conflict looks like? So now, why don't you and I talk about those 3 questions for us? Because I feel like that'll help the viewers and listeners understand exactly what it entails to identify. So what did you learn that love looked like in your childhood upbringing in India versus what's the norm in other places?
Or what somebody else would think is the norm.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for me, growing up in India, the first love I saw was parental love. And what that looked like was, parents would take care of you. They would make sure everything was taken care, that you were provided for as long as you needed it. But it also meant, they had rules, and some rules didn't make sense to you, but you had to follow the rules. You had to do what you were asked in terms of, there's a certain standard of education that's expected out of you. There's a certain standard of behavior that's expected out of you. There's a certain way you talk to the elders, even if they're saying something that you don't agree with, you accept it and you move on because they deserve respect no matter what. So there were certain ground rules that I grew up with that, to me, that was love, right? So if you loved someone, you didn't hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
You followed whatever they had to say, even if that meant that you weren't happy in yourself. Now, mind you, I didn't do that as a child. So in no shape or form, I want people to believe that that's what I was okay with, because I was considered a rebel growing up. Because I never agreed with something that didn't resonate with me on the inside, or that to me felt like had no logic. So I was always a rebel, but those were some of the things that was love according to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What about you?
I think for me, the question that stuck out the most is, what did I learn conflict looks like? And I think, no matter what, when I was a child of divorce, you and dad were not capable of handling conflict in emotionally mature ways.
No.
And so for me, a lot of what conflict looked like for the first decade of my life was very volatile. Conflict was always explosive. It couldn't just be talked about. There was no such thing as discussing normally.
Yeah.
And working through something that didn't exist. It was, if it was brought up, get ready for to rumble.
Somebody would be angry.
Yes.
Somebody would be
it would
saying
get loud.
something.
Yes, for sure. And so what's important about exploring these questions and these sort of stories is that it allows us to figure out what parts we might have carried forward. With you and I, it was a bit of a fluke scenario where we didn't really carry these things forward. I was never loud and volatile with my anger at any point. But for someone who is loud and volatile with their anger, that's a really good thing to reflect on, is whether or not their parents, that's what conflict looked like in their households, because that's not normal. But it is what they were shown.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
No, I was going to say that in childhood, conflict where I grew up looked very volatile as well.
Which is why that pattern continued.
It was very... So if, the brothers had a bickering, they would basically say whatever the hell they wanted to each other, scream, get loud. People would ask each other to get out of their house, even though the next day they would be completely fine. But there was a lot of atrocities like those where language, when they were in an argument, there was no barrier. There was no emotional intelligence to see where we're crossing the line. And I saw that growing up quite a bit, especially on my dad's side.
Well, that would make sense with the way you engaged in your first marriage. That was a pattern you inherited, but you didn't have the identifying questions at that point in your life to be like, oh, this is an inherited pattern that I'm repeating.
But also I didn't have a husband who had a different pattern.
Yeah, both of you have the same pattern.
Because you need something to be different at that point. One person to be a bit different.
Yeah, or two people who are willing to recognize.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Yep.
And so that sort of bridges us. Once you identify those patterns, that's the hardest step. So bridging off of that first question, once you complete that very difficult step, you get into the second step, which is discerning what to keep and what to release. This one's a lot easier because we kind of know what good has come from our family and what bad. Like I said, there are good patterns and there are bad ones. And it's keep the good, release the rest. And I think a great way to identify what is good and what is bad is which of your patterns came from fear and which came from love. So for example, fear-based patterns feel very tight and urgent and compulsory. An example of a fear-based pattern is defensiveness. So if you were raised in a home where
owning up to your mistake was a mistake.
No, if you were raised in a home where if you made a mistake, there were dire consequences for
That's
a mistake.
What I meant. Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
There were dire consequences for any mistake, even one that your parents would make. Defensiveness is a typical pattern that comes up out of fear. And when it comes up in your modern relationships, it's very compulsory. You can't prevent. It feels like something you can't help but be.
Yeah.
It's very blah, 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 I'm just going to word vomit a bunch of defensive arguments. That also comes when your parents never listen to you about anything.
Yeah.
You were always misunderstood and they didn't try to understand you.
No.
That's another one where it comes up. So that's a fear-based pattern. Love-based patterns feel much more in choice. So for example, a love-based pattern you can inherit is your parents were very affectionate with each other. Mm-hmm. They naturally were very affectionate and you loved watching them be affectionate. So consciously with your partner, you choose to be affectionate. So with that, are there any patterns that you can name, Mom, for yourself that came from love, and then any that you can name that came from fear?
In terms of love-based patterns, my mom and dad were always a very, very loving couple. So according to me, every husband and wife relationship was the same. And that, if one of them was a little annoyed, and if usually it was my mother, that my dad would be very, receiving of the feedback and it would all work out. So I think we've talked about that pattern. It can work both ways, where it's a great thing to have, but then it also leads to me having less discernment when I meet people, where I feel they're they're all going to be nice and sweet. And I think that's one of the reasons why, my marriage to your dad didn't work out. Because when I got into it, I thought it was only love. And then you realize that not so much.
Yeah. I think one love-based pattern you also inherited was generosity.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was very generous. Yes. I think that was beautiful because in our house, there was always people, there was always a feast, there was always lots of stuff going around. And there was never, there was a lot of abundance when it came to things like that growing up, which was very nice. Very nice to grow up with because, you have the same mindset when you now have children and other people around you.
You consciously carried that forward. And it never felt like something that was compulsory.
No.
It never felt like something that was tight or urgent. So this is what I encourage the listeners to do is explore those memories and figure out which one of them feels obligated and compulsory and tight and not so nice, and which ones feel like a conscious choice. Because that's usually how you can have the discernment for step 2 and let go of the bad and keep the good.
Another one I have to touch on is the fear. So the fear-based pattern that I think was very prevalent was control. Because my dad passed when I was 18, that fear that things can go wrong at any time leads to me I used to try to establish a lot of control over everything around me.
And
whether
people.
it was, whether it was the children, whether you guys, whether it was the home, whether it was everything I needed complete control of, because it almost made me feel safer, that nothing could go wrong.
It gave you certainty, false certainty.
False sense of certainty. So I think that was another one, which was like a fear-based pattern, which I think a lot of us have. A lot of women that even I know have a lot of controlling tendencies. And it's usually in the name of, I care for my children.
But it's deeper than that. It's you care for your own inner child.
But they've not figured that out, dear. I'm trying to say what it looks like on the surface, right?
Yes.
So when I controlled my children completely in terms of what they were doing, what they were eating, where they were going, what the school, and I always tried to say it was because I wanted them to have good habits. I wanted them to be safe. I wanted them to be intelligent. I wanted them to be doing good in school. But why did I want so much? Why was that control coming so much in my life? I realized was because of that fear I had of losing my dad. Fear of things, the real fear was things can go wrong at any time, and if I control them completely, I can avoid things from going wrong. Boy, is that an inaccurate philosophy to live by.
And I'm so glad you mentioned this, because do you know how many women are in the boat of previous you?
Yeah.
I have seen the tiger mom everywhere, and every single time you see the tiger mom, the
helicopter mom,
the helicopter mom, there's a million nicknames.
Yes.
For that mother.
Yeah.
I swear to God, you can always chase it back to something extremely volatile and uncertain that happened in their childhood.
Yeah.
Every single time. And it's exactly what you said. They think that it is in the name of protecting their children, and it is in the name of protecting a child, but it's their inner child.
Yeah. And then to fast forward, when I actually started realizing what was happening, what I realized is actually I have no control over my kids' destiny. I have no control over what they will become. The only thing that I can do is actually support and watch them from the side as they become the best versions of themselves.
I'll tell you that release of control is what set you free.
Absolutely.
It set everyone free. It set everyone free in our family.
Because, and this is for all the mums out there, but also I feel like it happens in relationships.
Oh, it applies to anything.
It happens in relationships when if your partner doesn't do one thing as per what you like or how you've been doing it, because that's the other thing, both of you come from different backgrounds and everything. And then when your partner doesn't fit that mold, you almost want to tell them all the time what to do because you feel, again, it's for the home. Because there the story changes. It's not for your partner's safety, that's for the house. I want to make sure as a woman, I'm taking care of the house. So everything is in order in the house. So then we start chasing our relationship partner on those items, which again is coming for our own need and has nothing to do with our partner.
Yeah. 100%. It's always coming from our own need. And I think actually romantic relationships is the first place that the fear of uncertainty comes into. And after it leaks into children. Children come after the romantic relationship most of the time. And I think, the greatest mirrors in your life are the ones who live in your house.
Yeah.
They're the greatest triggers of whatever fears, insecurities, whatever shadow you're dealing with. They will trigger that. And that can be your greatest gift. Like with the step like number 2, which is discern what to keep and let go of what does not serve. Your partners and your relationship with your partner and your children is going to be one of the greatest identifiers of what to let go and what to keep.
Only if you choose to let it be.
And only if you choose to see.
So that takes a lot, right? It takes a lot to recognize our own faults and where we need to grow and improve.
Well, I'm going to be quoting Carl Jung a lot, I fear. But this is the concept of the doctor who is able to heal is the one who probes himself. And so probe yourself, even though that sounds really dirty and odd. That's going to be one of the key takeaways of these first 2 steps is probe into yourself. Pick it apart. Go deep. Don't be afraid to. A lot of people also are really afraid of these first 2 steps because it forces them to face things of themselves that they might not like.
The other thing is, and we can get to that. There are tools available nowadays where you can start to take a peek into your inner self a little deeper.
Yes. And we'll get into that.
And go deeper with it. But we can get to that.
Yes.
Eventually.
So, leading into step 3, taking responsibility. And I need you all to tune in for this part. Without blame. Without blame.
Yeah.
It is so easy once we identify and we keep what we want to look at our family and look at our parents and be like, they did that to me.
Yeah.
They effed me up.
Yeah.
The key with step 3 is that you have to become the agent in your life and shift away from being the victim.
Yep.
Because the problem with blaming is 2 things. One, it's going to create anger. We've talked about it before on the show. When you create anger, you're drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's going to rot you. You won't be able to ascend to the final 3 steps if you hold on to anger. The second thing it does, you become the victim, which means you don't have any power to actually create change.
Yep.
And so with taking responsibility without blaming, I'd like you to talk about that because I feel like I'm going to tell you guys, like from me to the listener, it's easy for me to not blame. I got provided with quite a bit in my life. So even with the few emotional things that happened, very easy to be like, everyone's learning, move on.
Yeah.
But you really got ransacked by your childhood.
No, I wouldn't say that actually.
But that's exactly it. There's no blame. So I want you to break down how you managed to find that forgiveness and to take responsibility for the parts that you needed to heal.
Yeah. So the thing with me, and like if I talk about taking responsibility and not giving blame, is I truly believe that everyone is trying the best that they can, the best that they know, right? And I feel that as long as you know that they are trying their best and doing their best, you start to shift away from blaming and thinking about, okay, what can I change? What are the pieces I don't agree with? So one of the things I always said was, I will grow up differently. I will make sure that my children are growing up differently. And that was my single most goal in raising children, was this ends with me. Yeah. And to a great degree, I did.
Yes.
And I know we're all work in progress because there is nothing called 100% perfection.
One of the things my daughter talks about that didn't end with me.
So, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has their things,
Yeah.
little things, big things. So for me, you know, I loved the way I grew up because there were things there provided for, taken care of, and the simplicity there that doesn't exist anymore, right? Would I want my children to grow up in the same environment? No, right? Yeah. So it kind of ended with me. Yeah. But as far as like my work on myself was concerned, what I had to recognize was the need for control and why that was there and how could I do without it. Mm-hmm. Still setting accountability and standards for my children and
100%.
Trusting them and becoming that anchor where I trust and I give control away and empower them because they're intelligent individuals to make their own decisions and learn from their mistakes. It's okay. I made huge mistakes, including when I got married. I got 2 beautiful kids. It's amazing. But like a lot of people around me, my family thinks it was a mistake. I don't. Because I think it was meant for me to learn the things I had to learn. Same thing for my parenting. Because I showed up in ways where I was raised.
Yep.
With the same need for control, with the same need of, if you don't do this as per how I ask, hell is going to break loose and I'm going to be mad and frustrated. And I realized as time moved on, like you said, anger is basically drinking the poison and thinking somebody else, not that I ever wished anything bad about my kids, but I was drinking poison for myself because my stress levels, my everything was...
Your health took a hit.
Health would take a hit. And it's only when I started to see inward is where I realized, damn, what am I doing? And it brought me closer to my children, if anything.
It 100% brought you closer.
Like,
no child can be close to a parent who is controlling.
Exactly. So
if they are, it's Stockholm syndrome.
Like, I agree. So it's like, it's beautiful to think that, oh my God, like how as a parent did you relinquish control and get closer?
And everything worked out better.
And, we spend so much time together and we call each other out.
Yeah.
We actually enjoy looking at each other and seeing the differences and seeing our unique nuances and appreciating each other more versus criticizing and who's doing what right and who's doing what wrong.
Well, we don't feel the need for each other to stick to each other's script. And this sort of bridges into my sort of final takeaway for this step of responsibility, which is the ultimate way to not be the victim. To the change you need to make is understanding fundamentally that these were patterns you inherited, and it's your job to decide what to do with them. If you choose to do nothing, great. You're in complete agency. that was your responsibility. Don't go blaming your parents.
No.
For, they made me this way. No,
Yeah.
you chose. What you are not changing, you are choosing. You chose to be this way.
I agree.
Done. And if you choose different, you also chose that.
Yeah.
And it's that simple.
Yeah.
And that's how we take away the blame, take away the anger, and we make it an empowered agency for ourselves.
Because a lot of children out there also have a tendency to constantly say, my parents did this to me. I'm traumatized because of this, or this is my trauma. And we don't need to go trauma hunting.
No.
That's not the purpose.
Change the language.
Exactly.
I inherited this pattern from something my parents engaged in and a behavior my parents engaged in. And I'm choosing how I'm going to go forward with it.
Exactly. And even for when I look at my growing up, I don't have any blame. My parents loved me. And I know that for a fact. So, to look at them and say, well, you never told me you loved me. You never expressed your love. So I don't know if you love me. But then yet they took care of me. So to me, it's kind of like stop the blame game. They loved you. They raised you. They brought you to this level.
They loved you to the best of the ability.
Their ability.
They were able to.
Exactly. Now it's your choice how you get to show up. But
if you want to love in the same ways they did, that is your choice.
Exactly. And you get to stop looking backwards and blaming. But you get to wake up to recognize what you inherited and how you move forward.
And you know what? A great way to also shift the blame is to understand what a gift it is to choose. If you have already embarked on the first two steps, the identification and the discerning what's good and bad, you automatically are given the gift to choose, which many people don't even have that gift because they didn't have the identification and the discernment. They don't know what they're choosing. They don't have the conscious choice. It's completely unconscious.
And why do you think that is? Because they don't sit with their thoughts.
But what a gift that you've gotten to do that. I don't care how old you are. You could be 5, you could be 80. What a gift that in this life you get to choose what to carry forward. And so based off that, because now you've taken responsibility, you've shifted the blame, you've done all of that.
Yeah.
Here's how we actually start integration, which is putting it from pattern to practice. Because at the end of the day, change can only happen with replacement.
Yeah.
We cannot just decide I'm not going to do this and then do nothing. That's not how change is created. But how it is created is with replacement. So the pattern becomes practice. An example, if you inherited silence,
when you
your silence, when you're that pattern is what you inherited. Your practice and the replacement, once you consciously choose to leave it behind, is discussion and conflict. The practice is how do I discuss my feelings? You have to replace it with a practice. If you inherited volatility,
anger,
you yell when things go wrong, you get abusive verbally, and you have consciously chosen, I refuse to carry forward that pattern from my upbringing, your replacement is going for a walk when you feel yourself getting like that, cooling down, and then having the conversation. Yeah. You must replace. So I want to ask you about this because you've had to replace like half your personality.
Come on. It wasn't that bad.
I'm joking. But were there any conscious practices? Because I feel like it would so benefit the listeners if there were any conscious practices that you can think of where you had a behavior, you could identify where it was inherited from, and then you replaced it with a better action.
Yes. So the biggest one was irritation. So more than anger for me was irritation. So when something would not go as per my needs, whether it's putting things away or if it's, even like, I don't know, doing your homework. I know that's more simple, but there was deeper things like, if my child
or your partner or whoever,
my partner, said something that I didn't like in a way that they didn't like. My biggest thing was irritation. Like in my gut, I would have this like irritating feeling where I wanted to just lash out and be like, what the fuck? And if I didn't say anything, I would be brewing on the inside. that was really hard because it takes the life out of you, at least for that half a day, right? So when I recognized that that irritation was what was the worst part of that experience, I started to dig deeper and understand exactly what I could replace it with. So say if somebody does not do something as per my plan, or somebody says something that I don't like, instead of focusing on what they said and making it personal about myself, I started reflecting on why. What is it that they are struggling with right now that might cause them to react the way they are?
So you replaced reaction with reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an act. You replaced.
So I got more in tune, because I got more in tune with my emotions. I started to understand why people say certain things instead of focusing on the things they were saying, because I knew it wasn't about me, what they were saying.
100%.
It was more about how they were going through something. And that reflection in itself completely changed the dynamic of conflicts that I would have with my family.
Yeah. I could see that.
What about you?
Replacement of a behavior. I would hide what I was really feeling. Actually, this completely ties in with yours. It reminded me of my side of that, which was I did not feel like it was safe to speak about some of the things I found unfair. So I'd make them passive aggressive comments down the line.
Yeah. So it was inside you and it would come out later.
I noticed that a lot of your inherited patterns were outward and expressive. Mine were inward and passive. And both are equal villains. That's another thing. I put myself on a moral pedestal for being inward and passive, but that's just as rotting as outward and expressive.
Yeah.
So I want to also emphasize that both are equal poisons.
Yeah.
And so with that, I would let it build up and build up and build up. And because I was good with language, I would make little jabs.
Yeah.
With whoever. It could be you, it could be my brother, it could be whatever
Yeah.
I was irritated about that I didn't feel like I could express.
Yeah.
And once I caught that pattern, it became more so, what can I replace it with? And it became, replace it with conversation. If you do not have the guts to talk about something, you cannot burden other people with passive comments. You have officially chosen. I realized I'm in choice. When I choose not to speak about something because I'm worried about a reaction, when really I have agency, it doesn't matter what the reaction is. If I feel a certain way, I can say my piece and move on. It doesn't impact me anymore. But if I choose not to say something, I've chosen not to burden someone else with that knowledge. I can't be wishy-washy with it.
Yeah.
I can't complain with it. So it became, okay, I feel this irritation. I'm deciding, is this about me or about them? Once I decided whether or not it was about me or them, because sometimes it was about them. Truly.
Yeah.
Once I decided, it was, okay, I have to bring it up. So it became compulsory conversation. And so that replaced this passive aggressiveness I was constantly living in. And passive aggressiveness eats at you. You become a bitch.
Yeah.
Like, truly.
And people don't like you at that point because they don't know where the reaction is coming from.
They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, you've actually done a disservice to everyone involved. You're rotting in anger. The other person doesn't know what's going on. And then you've just offended them for no reason.
Yeah.
They can't repent. Like, there's just a whole lot of things going on.
Yeah.
So I would say that's one of the ones that I created. But again, replacement is key. This is why it's our fourth step. You have to do the reps. Once you realize what you don't like, you got to replace it. You can't just say, I don't like this about myself, and then sit idly. There has to be active action, and that's through replacement.
Won't do this again.
I won't do this again. What are you going to do instead?
Yeah.
Focus
if you're angry next time, what are you going to do?
Don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on I don't like when I do this. Focus on the I'm going to do this instead.
Yeah.
And watch how your life changes. That's the reps you're going to put in. And so that leads into our step 5. A lot of people skip this step, but I think it's extremely vital for all shadow work, because we need to allow ourselves to experience the full scope of human emotion, and that's grieve what you protected. So a lot of the times, the things we inherited were a protection mechanism. For example, when someone is volatile, it's because often they weren't protected. They were not protected in their childhood emotionally, so their volatility is their way of defending themselves. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That protected you probably in so many ways.
Yeah.
If you were a people pleaser, oftentimes that was born to protect connection.
Yeah.
You knew connection could not be sustained unless you gave in as a child. And it was a beautiful protection mechanism for you to maintain connection in your youth.
Yep.
If you were silenced, in many ways, that was a way of protecting belonging.
Yeah.
If you didn't speak out, you can probably relate to this. And if you didn't speak out, you belonged. You fit in. And so it is so important to allow yourself to be like, oh my God, that version of me did protect me. That version of me did do something for me. I love her. I thank her. And I'm going to leave her behind now.
Yeah. She's done her work.
She's done her work. And that bittersweetness, that grief is so important to explore.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any of these that you could relate to.
Many.
Yeah.
Many. My need to squash all emotions of myself, not letting myself feel so that I could be protected. So because life hurt too much. Like especially after losing my dad and was the biggest one. So it was like, okay, how I became stone. And then, because I don't think I cried much after my dad passed. And then when I got married, it was not the best. So then I never cried then. I cried maybe the first year of marriage a little bit, but then after that, I never cried. And then I don't think you ever saw me cry until I left your dad. Like when
I think I was 11.
Yeah,
10.
exactly.
Yeah.
Long time ago. So to me, those years, it really protected me. It helped me survive. It helped me raise you guys properly, focus on my work, focus on being a businesswoman, being an entrepreneur. Like there was a lot of focus needed for that. And all of that survival mechanism really helped me. And to me, it was amazing to let it go because now I weep at everything.
She served you well.
She served me well.
You don't need her anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I can be emotional and I can cry at everything and I can love more fully because I'm not scared of anything. So I think it served me. That was one of the biggest ones that served me really well.
Yeah.
That I think I want to retain for a very long time.
Yeah.
As appreciation.
100%. And you know, as you explore these, because these steps call for someone to really look inward in a way that a lot of people might not have.
No,
before.
it's hard.
And as you explore these things, you know, it might get difficult. You might need guided sort of prompts and things like that. And you might need guidance. And so Mom and I have created something we wish we had.
Yes.
Something we wish we had, which was a guided journal front to back that takes you through these 7 steps in extreme detail. There's reading, there's writing, there's reflection. You're probably going to cry, you're going to laugh. It's a lot of things it's going to be asking you to look back on, but it allows you to embark on these steps in a way where you don't have to do it all alone.
Yeah.
There's enough questions where, because I notice a lot of times people just don't know what questions to ask. And we can't cover all the ones to ask in just this podcast episode. And I really want to emphasize this because as we lead into the final step is actually the first step. And it's a closing circle, which is choice.
Yep.
Simply choose consciously what you want for the next generation.
And for yourself.
Choose. That's the 7th step. And it's actually, in a way, the first. Because in order to embark on it, it becomes a cycle.
Yeah.
In order to embark on this journey, you have to choose right out the gate.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to say with that is it can get very, very difficult to break patterns. Our inner child can get very, very uneasy because in a lot of ways, inherited patterns is loyalty to our parents. Our inner child is naturally loyal to the people who created us. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that means that breaking some of those patterns can feel like betrayal.
Yeah.
But what I call people to remember when they're making that conscious choice is that choosing to break the pattern is actually loyalty to your future.
Yeah.
It's not disloyalty to your family. It's loyalty to your future.
But also you release your family from the blame. It's very important to do that, to free them of the burden of the future generations as well.
100%.
So it's freedom on both sides.
100%. And so we are so excited. This journal is going to be coming out soon.
And it's called
This Ends With Me Journal.
Exactly.
Yes. We kept it very, very bang on the money for the title. Because it's the choice of this ends with me. We all have that split second moment where we know.
And where will they be able to get information on where to buy, where to get the journal?
That'll be on our social media. So we are currently going to start rolling out our journal promo, things like that. We're super excited. And on our social media, if you follow us at The Listening Circle Podcast on Instagram and at The Listening Circle Pod on TikTok, you can get all the updates you need.
And we also have, you want to tell them about our quiz that's coming out?
Yes. So part of this journal, part of this journal and part of the first step is identifying what you inherited. So Mom and I spent a lot of hours and a lot of work creating a framework for you guys of exactly what patterns you inherited from your parents and what personas your parents have had. We all have multiple different kinds of parent personas that show up in different scenarios. And these personas are a sort of brand new psychological concept that every parent falls into and how they show up and what we inherit and what we don't. And so this quiz is pretty cutting edge and it's freakishly accurate. We've tested it on a few people we know now and we're very, very proud. But what it allows it to do is it makes that first step, which is identification, easier. 10 times easier for you. All you have to do is fill out the quiz and then you get pretty
all
much
the details.
So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. This is a topic we're really, really passionate about and you're going to be seeing more on it. And we wish you all the best in the shadow work journey. See you soon.